This tutorial video is designed to accompany lesson 48 of Learn Your Scales and Arpeggios for Clarinet, the last lesson in this course, which suggests some avenues you can explore to develop your scale playing further. The worksheet runs to 25 pages, but doesn't aim to instruct in the same way as the previous 47 lessons. This course was designed to guide you through learning all your major and minor scales and arpeggios, as well as the main non-diatonic items. That job is now complete, and your musical and technical grasp should now be sufficient for you to be able to build your own structures for learning. Scales and arpeggios are not an end in themselves, but a means to an end. A secure knowledge enables you to navigate the instrument in all the keys and provides an exercise regime for you to develop your playing technique. This worksheet provides 8 areas into which you can extend your scale practice. The first is practicing your scales in thirds. A scale in thirds is a simple sequence in which you proceed by moving forwards by 2 steps, followed by backwards by 1 step. For example, here is the C major scale in thirds. To begin with, you should aim to follow the same break fingering pattern as in the straight scale. However, a scale in thirds involves some arpeggio movements as well as scale movements, so the choice of left and right hand fingerings is not so straightforward. Your grasp of fifth finger alternatives should, by now, be sufficient to enable you to think creatively and devise your own solutions, but some suggestions are provided on the worksheet. For example, you may choose to use some left hand and some right hand fingerings for C sharp in the scale of D major in thirds. A slightly different model is suggested for scales in thirds over 3 octaves to enable you to keep within the range of the straight scales. Here is E major in thirds. Some scales in thirds necessitate cross fingerings, where alternative fingerings can be applied in the straight scales. Here, for example, is B flat harmonic minor in thirds, in which you will need to cross finger between F and G flat in both registers. You can also practice scales in fourths or create other musical sequences from your scales to effectively turn them into technical studies. The second area you can explore is extending the range of your scales to cover the whole range of the instrument. Obviously, when playing music in any key, you are likely to need to venture outside the range of the relevant scale as practiced so far. Playing your scales over an extended compass can turn each item into a rather shapeless sprawl of notes, and you may need to add an extra little twist to ensure you land on a strong beat. Here is the A flat G sharp sequence of scales extended to cover the full range between bottom E and top G. Some exam syllabuses also stipulate extended arpeggios, but a much better way to cover the whole range in your arpeggio work is the third area presented here for exploration, practicing arpeggios in their inversions. For example, starting on E, you can play E major and E minor in root position, C major and C sharp minor in the first inversion, and A major and A minor in the second inversion. Here is the E sequence of arpeggios. You can also add the dominant sevenths in their inversions. In the E sequence, you would play E7A, C7B, A7C, and F sharp 7D. With the addition of the diminished seventh, this gives you 11 arpeggios in each sequence, a total of 132 in all. The fourth area you can explore is extending your range beyond top G. From the beginning of the Romantic period, composers, driven by the ambitions of the players they wrote for, have demanded notes beyond this range. Weber asks for a top B flat in his second concerto. While Spohr goes for a top C in his second concerto. The advanced student is therefore well advised to extend scale work to encompass these higher notes. There is no hard and fast methodology to guide the student through developing the top range, as players tend to invent their own fingerings and choices are very personal, dictated by such factors as the nature of the instrument, the physique of the player, and the context in which the highest notes appear. The worksheet presents 123 fingerings for notes from G sharp here, on up, that's C sharp, and onto the A above there, which I am not going to try and demonstrate. These are not presented with any explanations or in any particular order, and there is no guarantee that they will all work for you, but they offer a resource from which you can make your own choices. The fifth area to explore is varying meter. Throughout this course, the scales and arpeggios have been presented in uniform metric structures. For example, 2-octave scales have been in semiquavers in 2/4 time. 1, 2. Chromatics have been in semiquavers in 3/4 time. 1, 2, 3. Three-octave scales and arpeggios have been in 6s. 1, 2, 3. The danger of always applying the same meter is that a tendency to accentuate certain notes can arise, making the execution of the scale uneven. Some suggestions are offered as to how you can apply different meters, but the possibilities here are virtually endless. Here is the scale of B flat major in half beats in triple time. 1, 2, 3. Here's A7 in 2 groups of 3 to the bar. 1, 2. Here is the F sharp chromatic in 4 groups of 3 to the bar. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here is the arpeggio of A flat major major in 3 groups of 4 to the bar. 1, 2, 3. As you can hear, not all these options land on a strong beat, so are not entirely satisfactory. The 6th area is practicing scales and arpeggios in various rhythmic patterns. Here are some examples. The 7th suggested area is applying different articulations. Exam syllabuses generally specify that scales should be played tongued or slurred at the examiner's request. At a more advanced level, some exams specify slurred, legato tongued, and staccato. At an advanced level, the whole business of articulating with the tongue becomes a complex area of technique, and this scale method has not set out to address it in any detail. But tongued scale work is important, as obtaining a uniform response throughout the range of the instrument is challenging. Different registers respond in different ways. Tongued scale work can also be used to exercise various articulation patterns. Some examples are provided on the worksheet. Here is the C sequence with a range of tongued and slurred patterns. The final suggested area is varying tempo and dynamics in your scale work. The aim of this course has been to enable you to develop your technical facility through scale learning, and this means learning to execute everything rapidly. Some slower work can also be useful to help you develop homogeneity of tone and dynamic level, accurate intonation and smoothness of legato. Slower work will also require you to vary your choice of fingerings, especially on high notes. And changing the dynamic can alter the pitch and response of notes. And this is where our course really does end. If you have worked all the way through this process, following all the instructions and completing all the practice plans, you should by now have a secure knowledge of all your scales and arpeggios. You have learned all the diatonic scales and arpeggios, including dominant sevenths, as well as some non-diatonic materials such as chromatic scales, whole tone scales and diminished sevenths. You deserve congratulations. It has been a long journey and has called for much hard work along the way. You will need to continue to practice them regularly, with the emphasis from this point on improving the way you play them, listening for evenness, control of tone and dynamics, and developing your articulation. As your performance of scales and arpeggios improves, your general technique develops. Scale work is indispensable if you are to do justice to the repertoire. Those who have devoted their life to clarinet playing would say you have only just begun, though this should not detract from what you have achieved. The purpose of this series of lessons has been to enable you to build a secure base of knowledge which you can use to plan your further development as a player. What is offered in Lesson 48 is merely a set of suggestions, but true success comes from taking responsibility for your own learning. On the other hand, you may choose to stop here and concentrate on using what you have learnt to enjoy playing at the level you have reached. If so, you have acquired a skill which can bring you musical fulfillment and much happiness for the rest of your life. Good luck.